Yo, what's up? Tuna here. Just woke up on the third day of the new league. And yeah, there's a few things that I'd wanted to show you guys and also talk about with the build and in general. Yesterday I crafted a new claw. So this claw is actually pretty good. And I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit through the process of how I crafted it. And then in general, how the build is feeling at this point of investment, which basically all that's different from yesterday is I did this claw as well as the Darkness Enthroned. Darkness Enthroned is huge, don't sleep on it. It's very cheap. I bought this one for like 1.2 divs. So yeah, 99% increased effect, and then I just did some searches from Path of Building. If you don't know how you search for jewels on Path of Building, I actually did a video of it a little while back, but just to give you guys a quick little rundown of how that works. So you will have the Path of Building here. I'm always going to be using my endgame PoB as reference. So once you've opened the PoB, you want to go over to items, and then you have this button here, trade for these items. You will find best here under sockets, and then you will select Abyss Jewels. And from there, what will happen is it will generate a trade link, and this trade link will just generally actually give you a stat weighted kind of search that you can put here into Path of Exile Trade. So you just copy that over, and then you will just get a ton of jewels popping up. But the thing about this search is that the parameter of the minimum sum, which is like essentially the amount of damage it gives you, is not set. So you want to figure out what the current highest sum is by sorting it like this. And you can see that it's 50, but in reality it's not 50. It's just that it doesn't show enough results. So you can type 50 here to begin with, and then it will narrow down to 100, and then you do the same thing with the arrow. You can see that it goes up to like 74, so on and so forth. So then you can actually just go here and type something like 65 or something like that. And then now you will start getting some really good jewels for really cheap. As you can see here, like 30, 60C and that kind of stuff. Now, keep in mind that penetrates, if you haven't killed recently, is only going to be useful for single target. But still a really nice stat for that. So how did I craft my claw? The claw is actually a very easy craft. And one trick that I used to save a lot of currency is I used wild bristle matrons to spam getting basically the meta affixes on there. So essentially what I did is I bought a Critical Strike Fractured Noble Claw. You can buy a Noble, you can buy an Imperial, or any other claw. If you want to see what the stats of claws are, you can go on the wiki. And what I'll do here is just go the claws. And you can see here basically the stats that you want on claws. The thing about like these claw bases, you don't really care about the base physical damage of it, but what you do care about is the attack speed and critical strike ratio. Because in proportion to how much elemental damage you're going to have on a claw, this base physical damage is pretty insignificant. So yeah, you're just looking for something with like as high attack speed as possible with good critical strike chance as well. And ideally, if you can, like a flat life gain per hit is really useful. So yeah, like something like Eye Gouger is fine. So now that you know that, you could just go back on trade. So pathofexile.com/trade, and then you can make a search. So for example, I would look for, you type tilde. Tilde's gonna help you like basically do an approximation of a search rather than having to search for the exact name. Tilde fractured crit, and then you can go increase crit, like 35, and you can also go like tilde fractured attack local, or rather than attack, just go like local damage. That's the one. So I copy paste this, and I go for lightning, I go for fire, and I go for cold. And what I will do is I'll just type 100 here on all three of them as minimum, so sort of just like an approximation, and then set the search to count 1. And I forgot also to search for fractured attack local. Fractured attack speed local, and that one rolls up to, I don't actually remember, I think it rolls up to 30%, so let's go look for 28. And then we will specify that we want to look for a claw. Now you'll basically get all of these fractures popping up. Now you can see that this is actually T3, so you can just bring the lightning up to like 150 maybe. And then maybe we can go like 120, go to 120, and then we just search for that. And now we start getting like some claws. So yeah, you definitely don't want Vol claws or this, because the attack speed is like so low. But this claw is actually like not terrible, aside for the fact that it has Fizz Leech or something like that. But generally I would go for like not such a terrible base, since you're gonna be stuck with this claw for a while. Now another thing to keep in mind is the item level. And the thing about the item level is that item level 82 is the item level that you need to hit T1 elemental damage. But hitting T1 elemental damage is, you know, really uncommon. So you can see here by the list, you see 82, and then for T2, you need a 74 minimum. So I wouldn't buy anything below item level 72, but I would say 82 is ideal, right? So then we can go back into our search here. We can look for item level 82. And you can buy any of these claws. So the next step that I did is I had a fractured claw and I used anger essences because anger essences are actually the cheapest at the moment, but this might differ depending on when you look at the video. So you just spam anger essences, and I better go D&D because it looks like I come back online and one of my items is much more expensive now. But yeah, you spam anger essences until you hit, so if you have fractured elemental damage, what you would want to do is you would want to hit critical strike chance or attack speed, and vice versa, right? So what I did is I spammed the essence until I hit T2 lightning damage. And at this point, you can actually clean your claw by crafting cannot roll attack modifiers and annulling, so long as the other mod that you rolled isn't an attack modifier. And this way you can kind of force having a claw with you know, 2 elemental damages and you're fractured for pretty cheap. But the trick here is that I actually bought a bunch of wild bristle matrons, and that's these things here. So search that on PoE trade. We'll look for wild bristle matron. So wild bristle matron is about 30 chaos, and divines are about last I checked they were like 120. I'm not really sure. I don't have any currently divines. I put all my money into veiled orbs, but yeah, they were like 120 when I last checked. So that means that you can actually just craft. You could put 4 attempts at a meta mod instead of spending 1 divine on the cannot roll attack modifiers. So the likelihood of getting cannot roll attack modifiers is more, so it's like less than a 1 in 4. And you can also have like chances of going for, can I have 3 crafted modifiers and that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's just always worth trying to spam wild bristle matrons to get the meta mod that you want, rather than using the bench, especially since wild bristle matrons are so cheap. So that's how I got cannot roll attack modifiers. I annulled off the intelligence that I had on the claw, and then I spammed bristle matrons again until I got can I have 3 crafted modifiers. And this actually saved me about like 1.5 divines, while instead of using the meta mods on the bench. Yeah, that's basically the process of how I made my claw. And as soon as I did that, like my damage felt just infinitely better. It's so nice. And the last thing I'd like to mention is, of course, a lot of people are complaining about the Light of Meaning being expensive, and rightfully so. It is very expensive at the moment. If I was to price check this real quick, the Light of Meaning with armor is currently, you know, 7 divines, which is actually not so bad. But at the same time, a lot of people can't afford that, right? So what I would suggest to do is you can actually get a Light of Meaning with evasion rating. So 7% increase, and that's 70 chaos. It's super cheap. The only thing you have to swap when you do this is you would have to swap your flask from a granite to a jade, and then you would have to swap termination to grace. And ideally, you should 100% have Dawnbreaker by this point for the fizz taken as, and you should go for a lightning coil instead of whatever this shit is. Yeah, which honestly, like, I should just get a better chest. But basically, you should have a lightning coil, because if you're a pure evasion, then you have no physical mitigation at all, meaning that you ideally want to have a way to, you know, reduce the damage that you take, which fizz shifting is a good way to do that still. So lightning coil plus Dawnbreaker with grace, jade flask, as well as a Light of Meaning with evade is probably the best way you can get a tanky early without having to spend, you know, 7 divines for the armor Light of Meaning. So yeah, but keep in mind that, of course, like if you buy like lightning coil, you can use tainted jewelers as well as tainted fusing orbs to 6-link that. You don't have to do it with traditional fusings, and that is the cheapest way to do that. And as of yesterday, the Black Morgan was actually kind of bugged, but Black Morgan is another way for you guys to get that 6-link. So yeah, that's pretty much all the tips and tricks that I have for you guys. At the moment, my build is pumping. I'm really enjoying it. It's a lot of fun, and I'm still farming my sort of like Alcan Go map find with a bit of heist. So yeah, I'm just like boss rushing type thing with altars. And today I'll probably just do like a different strategy. I'll probably just go full copium and farm some rituals or something like that to see if I can lose money. But yeah, thanks very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this little recap / update of tips and tricks and things that I've learned of the build. If you enjoyed the video, you know, like, subscribe. Like, I even have a hard time saying that. It's like I'm dying inside. But like and subscribe. Hope to see you guys on the stream or in the comments. Yeah, peace out, guys. Have a good one.